Ji, Assalamu alaikum class. Welcome to this video lecture. This is your teacher Umar Shami for the MSc course of Advanced Power Electronics, Spring 2020. In the last lecture we started chapter number 5. Title is AC to AC converters. Um, and today we will last time we did the first half, and today I would like to complete this chapter. Today we will inshallah study PWM AC converters, cyclo converters, and matrix converters. I would like to remind all my students that these lectures are essential, but at the same time, book reading is highly important. We cannot ignore the book. We have to study the book also. Lectures, they are good, but my recommendation, my I would highly recommend that my students, they also read the book. And yes, so let us start with the lecture. Yes. So the title article number is 5.1.3, PWM AC voltage controllers. The circuit diagram of a single phase PWM AC voltage controller is shown in figure 5.17. The PWM AC voltage controller is also called an AC chopper. We will see that in the circuit diagram, an input voltage filter is used. This input voltage, this input filter is used to attenuate or to reduce high frequency harmonic currents that are drawn from the power system. The filter design is very simple. The filter only consists of two components. One is the inductance and one is the capacitance. In this lecture, we will see that the filter is very important for PWM AC voltage controllers. The input filter is highly essential. It is a very important part of this controller. Yet, it is very simple also. Since it uh, consists of only inductor and capacitor, therefore, sometimes the inductance can be provided or inductance provided from the power system is sufficient, and we need only to install a capacitor and our filter is ready. The PWM AC voltage controllers are used to improve the power factor, the control characteristics, and the quality of the input current. This is the major targets to be achieved. These are the major targets to be achieved by the PWM voltage controller. So now let us look at the circuit diagram. In this figure 5.17, this is the circuit diagram for PWM AC voltage controller. Here we have the source. This is the AC source. The voltage is the input voltage is represented by VI. Then we have the current. Current of the source is represented by II. Here we see an inductor and here we see a capacitor. This inductance and this capacitance constitute or make up the input filter. This is the filter. This filter is highly essential for the PWM AC voltage controller. Then we see four power electronic switches, namely S1, S2, S3, S4. Let us talk about the location of these power electronic switches. Power electronic switch number S1 and S2, they are connected to anti-parallel connection, and power electronic switch S1 and S2 are connected in series with the load. Now let us look at power electronic switches S3 and S4. S3 and S4 are also connected in anti-parallel connection, and S3 and S4 are connected in parallel with the load. S1, S2 are connected in series with the load. S3, S4 are connected in parallel with the load. The load voltage is represented by V out or V naught. The load current is represented by I out or I naught. The PWM AC voltage controller will only reduce the voltage. The PWM AC voltage controller will only alternate or alter or change the input voltage magnitude. The PWM AC voltage controller will not and it cannot change the frequency. These PWM voltage controllers are only used to change or alter the input voltage magnitude. They will not be used to change the frequency. Frequency will remain the same. Now, the switches S1, S2, S3, S4 are turned on and off many times within a cycle of the input voltage. The duty ratio and the duty ratio of S1 and S2 in any power switch can be defined by these two equations. D1, D2. D1 represents one power switch, D2 represents the other power switch of the same leg. It will be on and this will be, so this is the this represents the switching angle, the time at which the switch will turn on and off. Whereas switches S3 and S4 are the complementary of S1 and S2. Switches S3 and S4 are complementary of S1 and S2. Now we will look in detail what is the working procedure, what is the concept of PWM AC voltage controllers, and what is the working procedure of S1 and S2, S3, S4, and then we will also look into the detail what is the importance of the uh, input filter. Right, so um, these switches S1 and S2, they will not turn on at the same time. And likewise, switches S3 and S4, they will also not turn on at the same time. Switches S1 and S2, they will turn on at their respective positive or negative phases. So when the input voltage, when the input sign voltage is positive, then switch S1 will be turned on, and as switch S1 is turned on, the input voltage is available at the output voltage. And during this time, switch S2, switch S2, switch S3 and S4, all these three switches are off, they are open, they are not working. Please listen again, that when we have the positive half of the input sine wave, when we have the positive half of the input sine wave, at that time, switch S1 is turned on and switch S2, S3, S4 are open. They are open. They are not working. And as a result, the input voltage is available at the output voltage. When the same input voltage is now in the negative half, at this time we turn on S2. In the negative half, we turn on S2 and we keep open S1, S3, S4. As a result, the negative input of the voltage is now available across the output. And when we want to make output voltage equal to zero, when we want to have output voltage equal to zero, then we turn on S3 and S4. Then we turn on S3 and S4. So now we will now look at the properties of the output voltage, the concepts of the output voltage, and how the concepts are implemented using the single phase AC PWM controller. चलिए आगे चलते हैं. Here we see the sine wave and the PWM AC voltage. If you can look at the dotted wave. The dotted wave represents the input voltage from 0 to pi and then from pi to 2 pi, the dotted wave. And then on the dotted wave, we see the bold PWM AC voltage. This bold PWM AC voltage can be obtained if we multiply the sine wave, the normal sine wave with now this pulse trains. If we multiply normal sine wave with these pulse of trains, we can get the PWM AC voltage sine wave if we multiply a normal sine wave with the simple pulse trains. Now these simple pulse trains, they have a duty cycle. They have a duty cycle. The on time and the off time can be set variable, and these on time and by setting the variable on time and off time, we can hence control the output voltage. We will see a formula for this. However, at this stage, Fs represents the frequency and 1 over Ts represents the time period. However, here the duty cycle is the on time divided by the time divided by the duty cycle. Now the duty cycle is equal to the on time divided by the whole time period. Yes, time period, not duty cycle, time period. Duty cycle is equal to on time divided by the time period. And as we and here in this small circuit, we have the PWM AC voltage controller and a load. When we change the duty cycle with the same voltage, with the same input voltage, we are not changing the amplitude of the input voltage. We are merely changing, we are just changing the duty cycle. And we will observe that the load, which here is a motor or a fan, it will demonstrate a change in speed or a change in torque as we change the duty cycle. So this is the concept or background working of the PWM AC voltage controller. Now, in the next slide, yes, in the next slide, this is how we are going to implement. This is how this in the next slide we see figure 5.17 again. The input voltage, the input current, the inductor and capacitor filter, and I I dash represents the output current from the filter. S1, S2, S3, S4. S1 and S2 connected in series with the load. S3 and S4 both connected in parallel with the load. The load can be resistive, or the load can be RL, or the load can be any RLC. V out represents the load voltage and I out represents the load current. Um, when S2 and S3, when S2 or S, sorry, when S1 or S2, when either of them are conducting at that time, the source becomes in series with the load, or the source voltage, the input voltage becomes available at the output voltage. And when and at the same time, when we are operating S1 or S2, the source current and the load current become in series. The source current becomes equal to the load current. But once we are operating S3 and S4, the load current is now merely load current. It is now short circuited, and as the input current is not available. Now, beneath the circuit diagram, we see the input voltage waveform and the output voltage waveform. The dotted lines, again, they represent V input from 0 to pi and from pi to 2 pi. The dotted waveforms, the dotted lines, they represent the input voltage, Vi. This is Vi. And then we see the bold trace or the bold waveform. The bold waveform represent the output voltage, V naught. Now, we must look at here very carefully that there are two parts of the bold waveform. One is this part which is following the sine wave. For example here, this is following the sine wave. This is following the sine wave. And then there is a second part which is 0 volts, 0 volt, 0 volt over here, 0 volt over here. Now, the what is causing the output voltage equal to V in, and what is causing the output voltage equal to 0 volt? S1 and S2. When we turn S1 or we turn on S2, then output voltage becomes equal to input voltage. For example, here I've just shown here that this wave output voltage which is following the input voltage, it is due to turning on of either S1 or S2. Since here particularly specifically for this case it is in the negative half, so this is caused by S2. If we were in the positive half, all of the sine wave in the positive half, this is due to S1. And then what is causing the 0 volt? of the board of the output voltage, the board voltage, that is the turn on of either S3 or S4, or even here both also. This 0 volt, this 0 volt, this 0 volt, or even in the negative half cycle, 0 volt, 0 volt, they are all caused by turning on or activating either S3, S4, or both of S3 and S4. So output, this is a very important procedure to understand. It's very simple also, that once we want to make input voltage be available at the output voltage, we will turn on S1 or S2. In the case of positive half, S1; in the case of negative half, S2. Then if we want to have output voltage equal to 0, which is a very essential part for PWM in this case, then we will turn on S3, S4, or we can turn both of S3 and S4. It is better that we turn on S3 and S4 because current while crossing the zero crossing, while crossing 0 volt, it will make trail, and hence before the zero crossing it will be positive, and after zero crossing it will be negative. So therefore, if we keep S3, S4 on at the same time, so that it doesn't matter if current is lagging or leading. So we don't have to sense the current to either turn on S3 and S4. We simply turn both of them on when we want to have 0 volts. So now let us come to the next slide. The next slide is the simple um, concept clearing slide, where we understand how the PWM AC voltage controller is achieved. We simply see that there is a simple normal sine wave. We have one normal sine wave, and if we multiply the sine wave with a PWM signal, where if we magnify one pulse, we have that this pulse is turned on for time t on, and the pulse turns off for time t off. This is the magnified version of one pulse. If we multiply this pulse train with the sine wave, if we multiply, if we perform a multiplication function, then the end result is that we have a PWM AC voltage. So in this slide, we see that there is a simple sine wave being multiplied by pulse train. Each pulse train has a certain t on time and a certain t off time, on time and off time. And the duty cycle is given by the on time divided by the total time period, or we can have duty cycle equal to t on divided by bracket t on plus t off, bracket closed. And once we multiply the pulse train with your sine wave, normal sine wave, we multiply, we get a PWM AC output voltage. So now let us come to the next slide. In this slide, we will highlight and we will understand the importance of the input filter. The single phase AC chopper, which is the other name of PWM AC voltage controller. The circuit diagram is repeated in figure 5.17. We have the normal sine wave, the filter, our four switches S1, S2, S3, S4, and the load. The output voltage is shown in this diagram. This is the output voltage of the PWM AC voltage. Now, although this sine wave is this PWM AC sine wave is produced by multiplying a sine wave with a pulse train, but we see here that there are many times when the voltage is zero. This is zero. This is zero. Very zero. And since there is abrupt change in the sign in the PWM, when the PWM multiply with sine wave, then we can understand, or um, we can we can expect that there will be large number of harmonics. There will be large number of harmonics. Because why? Because let us go to the previous slide. Yes, here we see a sine wave, and then the sine wave suddenly becomes zero due to the PWM multiplication of PWM. Again, we see the sine wave. I'm talking about the bold waveform. We see the sine wave, and again suddenly the voltage becomes zero. Then again the we have see a sine wave, and again after that this voltage suddenly becomes zero. So there are many times where the voltage suddenly becomes falls to zero. Hence we will have a fundamental harmonic, and then uh, we will have a number of unwanted harmonics which will occur at very early stages that are not far away from the fundamental harmonic. So this is what is being shown, that the PWM AC voltage controller, the output voltage, and this arrow indicates the frequency spectrum of our PWM AC voltage controllers. Now, if we have this is our fundamental component. This is fine. We want this. But the remaining unwanted harmonics, they are to be eliminated. They are to be eliminated. And to make things worse, please understand that when we turn on S1 and S2, at that time input current flows through the filter, flows through S1 or S2 and into the load. This current I1 is coming from your power system. If you do not use the filter, then all of these unwanted harmonics, they will now come from the power system, or they will be injected into the power system. Hence, we have to remove these unwanted harmonics, and we are using the filter. Otherwise, if we don't use the filter, then these unwanted harmonics caused by S1 switching of S1, S2, and S3 and S4, they will be injected into the power system. And if the power system is a transformer or a magnetic circuit, then there will be much more losses due to due to magnetic material. We will have an increase in eddy current losses or hysteresis losses, which I've done in detail in previous lecture. So this is the importance. So this slide represents or demonstrates the importance of the input filter. That that is that is caused due to the large number of unwanted harmonics present in the output voltage. And if we do not deal with these, if we do not deal with these unwanted harmonics, they will enter into the power system. And we are dealing with the harmonics by using a inductance capacitance filter. Right, so next we come to the next slide. The next slide shows the output voltage and output current waveforms, and input voltage and input current waveforms. Here we see the PWM AC output voltage, voltage 0, voltage 0, voltage 0. As a result, the output voltage is also signed like, and we see an output current. We are assuming an RL load, therefore we have a lagging current. We have a lagging output current. Now, in the second diagram, we see the input voltage VI shown in as a dotted line, and then we see input current which is also lagging, uh, the voltage. So this current, input current and output current are very similar, but input voltage and output voltage are dissimilar. Output voltage depends on the duty cycle, and we can see that since all of the input voltage, except for the input voltage, the output voltage, the output current, and the input current all have a PWM AC waveform, and the input current has to pass through a filter. Next, now we come to the next slide. In the next slide, we demonstrate the characteristics of the PWM AC voltage controller, that the V out is equal to square root of under root of M duty cycle. Um, no, it is V out is equal to magnitude control ratio under root of magnitude control ratio multiplied by V in, and which results in the control characteristics shown in figure 5.18. The ratio V out over V out 1 divided by V in 1. V out 1 represents the fundamental component of the output signal. Vi1 represents the fundamental component of the input voltage. So of fundamental of the output and input voltage equal to the modulation index M. So this means that to find the modulation index, we have to divide the fundamental component of the output voltage. We have divided this with the fundamental component of the input voltage. And figure 5.18 represents the modulation index. Modulation index, obviously, it is only variable from 0 to 1. And as we vary from 0 to 1, the output voltage will increase. Modulation output control ratio, the duty cycle. This we on the x-axis we have the modulation index M, and on the y-axis uh, we have the modulation output ratio control. So we can see that the it is a non-linear ratio. It is a non-linear expression, and to obtain it is not a straight line. Otherwise, it would have been a linear. So in this case, that as usual, what we say is that if the output control ratio is nonlinear, therefore then we need a feedback control system. But we had discussed that in the previous lecture in detail. So figure 5.18 shows the control characteristics of the AC chopper. So when the modulation index is very small, output voltage is also very small. And when the modulation index increases, the output voltage also increases. The maximum available is 1, and output voltage becomes equal to the input voltage. So we cannot get output voltage larger than the input voltage. So we can say that the PWM AC voltage controller is the step down version of the DC-DC, like the DC-DC converter. Like we have the buck type DC-DC converter, in AC case we have the PWM AC voltage controller. Right, so before we jump to the next article, I would like to add that there are three-phase PWM AC voltage are also available. The circuit diagram is provided in our textbook. I would recommend my students to look at the circuit diagram of three-phase PWM AC voltage controllers. Now, another important discussion that I want to make with regarding PWM AC voltage controllers is that there are many research opportunities for those of my students who want to do MSc thesis, I would like to add to their information that there are many research opportunities available in PWM AC voltage controller. For example, let us return to the previous slide. Um, yes, over here. That here we see the single phase PWM AC voltage controller. Here we see the output voltage, and then here lies the problem. There are so many unwanted harmonics. So you may take, or you may think of techniques, you may think of algorithms how to reduce these harmonics. If we use different switching patterns to reduce that help us to reduce the switching losses, the switching harmonics, then we can reduce the size of the filter. We must never forget that harmonics, unwanted harmonics that are very close to fundamental, that is the low order harmonics, they require a large inductor or large size filter. So we can reduce this filter size by eliminating by using by using algorithms that do not produce these harmonics in the first place. Listen again, that if we can design or come up with some switching techniques that altogether eliminate low order harmonics, then the high frequency harmonics can be reduced by a small size filter. These switching techniques, as I've discussed in a earlier, are the, can be harmonics. It can be selected harmonic elimination scheme. Yes, selected harmonics elimination scheme. These are the same schemes that we use while converting DC voltage to AC voltage. We take care of the switching angles while converting DC to AC so that the AC does not have low order harmonics. Those techniques or the concepts can be applied for PWM AC converter to eliminate these low order harmonics. And this, I think, can be a good research article for my students. The other interesting aspect can be the switching losses. What are the switching losses of such converter? What are the dead times? What are the minimal dead times required for switching converter? These can be other interesting articles for research regarding PWM AC voltage controllers. Right, so start one. So now we will start with uh, cycloconverters. In the next slide. Cycloconverters. Cycloconverters are power electronic circuits. Cycloconverters are frequency changes that convert AC power of specific frequency and voltage to different frequency and voltage of AC power without any intermediate DC link. A cycloconverter is a naturally commutated converter in which the output frequency and voltage can be controlled independently and continuously. It consists of back-to-back connected controlled rectifiers whose output voltage and frequency can be controlled by tuning firing angles of rectifiers. Um, A cycloconverter provides direct AC to AC conversion while using large number of power electronic devices and poor output waveforms. This is a drawback, that it uses large number of power electronic devices while it also produces an output of poor waveform wave shape. The output frequency of the cycloconverter will always be less than the mains frequency. For example, if the main frequency is 50 Hz, then the cycloconverter frequency will be less than 50 Hz, ranging from 1 Hz to 49 Hz. Um, Fourth point, the output wave shape consists of many unwanted harmonics. This is another disadvantage, that not only is the wave shape of poor quality, but the wave shape, once we break down into frequency components, we will find that it has many unwanted harmonics. However, the cycloconverter has many features which make it superior to inverters for large slow speed drives, for driving motors, large size, large kilowatt motors, and slow speed drives. It allows energy to be transferred in either direction, and the large number of devices is no handicap when load current are so large that parallel devices would have to be used in an inverter. So this is one inverter that provides large power instead of small inverters connected in parallel delivering large sums of energy. The main application, it is mainly used in electric traction. Electric traction means railways, or where bulk of power is to be transferred, or is large traction. For example, trains, AC motors having variable speed, and third application is induction heating. Next slide. Cycle converters are AC to AC power converter in which the output frequency is a fraction of the input frequency. The single phase two pulse generic cycle converter in a simple trapezoidal mode of operation, resulting in an integer ratio of input frequency to output frequency, is shown example 1.1 and 1.2. We will see in a later slide. Practical cycloconverters have three-phase outputs, although a hypothetical single-phase six-pulse cycloconverter will be used to illustrate the operating principle. So we will use a hypothetical single-phase six-pulse cycloconverter to demonstrate its working. So in this diagram, part number A, we see the dotted lines. These dotted lines represent the main frequency three-phase input voltage. The dotted lines have a constant output voltage and a frequency which is larger than the output frequency of the cycloconverter. These dotted lines. These dotted lines are the main frequency, three-phase main frequency that we are obtaining from our utility supplies. These dotted lines will be provided. These dotted line represents the wave shape of the input signal provided to the cycloconverter. Now, on top of the dotted line, there is the bold wave shape, which represents the output single phase voltage of the cycloconverter. We can observe that the frequency of the output of the cycloconverter is much smaller than the frequency of the main supply. So this is the first wave shape that we are looking at cycloconverter. Now if we come to diagram number B, again we see the dotted three-phase input voltage sine wave, and now not only has the frequency being reduced, in addition the output voltage of the cycloconverter has also been reduced. So these two diagrams demonstrate that we can increase or decrease the output voltage. Also, we can increase or decrease the output frequency of the cycloconverter, and the frequency will be always less than the mains frequency. Now we come to the second slide. Here we have a much more um, conceptual diagram. Vs represents the single phase input voltage. Single phase input voltage. It has larger frequency. And V out represents the output waveform of the cycloconverter. The output waveform of the cycloconverter. The frequency of the cycloconverter is much less than the frequency of the main frequency, input voltage. The circuit diagram shows this circuit diagram shows the three phase to single phase half wave cycloconverter. We have three phases A, B, C and one neutral, and now we are using 6 power electronic devices, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and at the common we have the load connected between the common and the neutral. So as mentioned earlier, that practical cycloconverter having three phase output, a hypothetical single phase 6 pulse cycloconverter will be used to illustrate. Where is the 6 pulse? These 6 SCRs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they represent the 6 pulse cycloconverter, and here is the output. This was the circuit diagram of a single phase. We can have a three phase cycloconverter as shown in the second diagram. This diagram shows the circuit of a three phase, three pulse cycloconverter. We have it isolating transformer input. It is white and white transformer. Then three phases, one phase, second phase, third phase. Each phase consists of two sets of three SCRs. Then for and then in between we see a reactor in all the three phases. This reactor is connected so that we can eliminate circulating current, or we can reduce circulating current. Now why is it called a three pulse cycloconverter? Because each phase uses one set of SCRs, and then comes the load. This load can be our induction motor, as we will see in the second slide. Next slide, we see another. Previously we saw the three phase to single phase half wave converter. Now in the first diagram, this is the three phase to single phase full wave converter, where we are using two independent sets of three phase rectifiers. This is the first set, which is called the positive converter. It provides the positive pulses, and then we have a set called the negative converter. It will provide the negative pulses. So we have three phases A, B, C, and we have single phase converter over here. So we can also ignore this so that single phase can continue providing positive to the power to the positive converter and power to the negative converter. Then switches SP1, SP2, SP3, SP4, SP5, SP6. These are the switches that provide the positive halves or the positive voltages from the sine wave. And then power switches called SN1, SN2, SN3, SN4, SN5, and SN6. These are the power electronic devices that will contribute to the negative, that will provide the negative part of the waveform. Right, um, in the second diagram, this is not correct. This is not single phase. This is a three-phase cycle converter. So please take care. This is not single phase. I'm pointing out a mistake, that here it is written single phase converter, whereas it is not a single phase converter. It is a three-phase converter. However, in this diagram, we want to demonstrate what are the applications. So in this, we these three phases and the power electronic switch represent the cycle converter, whereas here is the three-phase large size motor. So this is the application. We can continue adding more pulses, or we can continue adding more power electronic devices, so that we can achieve lesser frequency, more accurate frequency, and we can get lower voltage of higher resolution. For example, in the next slide, this slide shows a three-phase 6-pulse cycle converter with isolated phase loads. So here each load is independent, as the name says, and to start with the circuit, we have an isolating transformer. We have one three-phase rectifier, and that provides the positive voltage waveform, and then another set of three-phase rectifier that provides the negative voltage waveform, and the load is connected by the help of two large reactors. These reactors will be used to eliminate harmonics. It is doing the job of filter plus to eliminate circulating current. So here in this diagram, we are looking at a complex circuit, but the advantage is that that isolated loads can be served. Right, so now we will start with our last article for this chapter. This is the matrix converter. Matrix converters, article number 5.3, matrix converters. As introduction, the matrix converter has several advantages over traditional rectifier type power frequency converters. It provides sinusoidal input and output waveform with minimal higher order harmonics and no subharmonics. It has inherent bidirectional energy flow capability. The input power factor can be fully controlled. Last but not least, it has minimal energy storage requirements, which allows to get rid of bulky and lifetime limited energy storing capacitors. This was the advantage of using matrix converters. Now we come to a few disadvantages. Okay, but the matrix converter also has some disadvantages. First of all, it has a maximum input voltage transfer ratio limited to approximately 87% for sinusoidal input and output waveforms. It requires more semiconductor devices than conventional AC to AC indirect power frequency converter. Since no monolithic bidirectional switches exist, and consequently discrete unidirectional devices variously arranged have to be used for each bidirectional switch. So in the disadvantage, first of all, the disadvantage of matrix converter is that the voltage ratio is limited. Secondly, all power electronic devices are unidirectional. This matrix converter needs a switch which should be bidirectional. So we have to use a pair of power electronic device, and each component in a pair will transfer current in one direction. So when we use two power electronic switches per device, then we have the capability of allowing current to flow in both directions. However, this increases the number of power electronic devices being used in the circuit. In the next slide, I will show the circuit comparison of traditional converter versus the matrix converter. Circuit comparison. First comes the traditional AC to DC, then DC to AC converter. Here is our traditional AC to AC converter. How are we converting AC to AC? First of all, we convert AC to DC and then convert DC back to AC. However, the output AC has variable voltage and variable frequency. So in the circuit diagram shown, this is the input where we will supply AC, three-phase AC. This AC will be rectified using the three-phase rectifier circuit. We are using simply 6 diodes. Then this DC voltage is stored in a DC linked capacitor here, we store DC energy over here. Now this capacitor is normally of large value, for example 10,000 microfarad, which can bear large voltages. This is not a small high frequency, it's not a harmonic cancelling filter. No, it is a large capacitor which will store energy, and it will also reduce the voltage ripple. Then after the capacitor, we have the DC to AC inverter, which consists of 6 power electronic devices and 6 freewheeling diodes, and then at the output we have the load. Now next circuit is the matrix converter. This is the circuit diagram of a matrix converter, three-phase matrix converter. First of all, we have here the three-phase AC source, A, B and C. This is the three-phase AC source. Then RA, LA and CAB, or RB, LB and CBC, or RC, LC, CCA. These RLC circuits, they are the input filters. These filters will eliminate low order harmonics, and in the matrix converter we will see that there is since the switching is there are many switching, therefore we need to eliminate low order harmonics. So the capacitance being used in the input filter is of small value. The inductance will be of large value. Now after the filter stage comes the matrix converter. Matrix converter in this three-phase consists of 9 in total bidirectional switches. Each circle, for example SAA, SAB, SAC, each circle consists of bidirectional switches as shown or as magnified over here. So if we look at bidirectional switch SCA, inside, what is inside this circle? There is a pair of bidirectional MOSFETs and a pair of bidirectional diodes, and this is the device which will allow current to flow in both directions. When we want to allow current to flow from top to bottom, then we will allow the first diode and the first MOSFET to conduct. When we want to allow current to flow from bottom to top, then we will allow the second diode and the second MOSFET to conduct. So uh, what is inside this circle? A bidirectional switch is inside this circle. Next slide. Here is the voltage expression for the matrix converter. More voltage um, VAB, VA, VB, VC matrix, the conversions and voltages, and VN represents the common mode voltage. In terms of line to neutral voltage, the voltage can be expressed as here, and then we have the currents. Again, we see the input, we see the three-phase to three-phase matrix converter. Table number 5.1 describes the switching pattern of a three-phase matrix converter with space vector PWM. So we can perform or we can achieve phase vector PWM, and by the help of this we can get 360-degree phase vector performance, and I will show this in a second graph. Here, so we can uh, program for the switching technique, we can program the converter and we can get space vector modulation throughout 360 degrees. Okay, next slide. So another matrix converter. In this matrix converter, what we have is the input voltage. We have the input, then we have the input filter, the ABC, and the bidirectional switches, and these now and yes, and then we have the load over here. Right. So in this slide, there is the comparison of output voltage produced by the traditional DC to AC converter, which is also called the VSI, voltage source inverter, versus the output voltage of matrix converter. Keep in mind that in AC to DC to AC to DC to AC conversion, we are using 6 diodes and a capacitor, and hence we get a very sharp PWM signal. This voltage, part A, is the output voltage waveform of voltage source inverter, the traditional inverter, which it is very neat and clean because we are using 6 diodes and we are using a capacitor. The capacitor will maintain the voltage. Next, in the second part, in the next part number B matrix, we are using, this is the output voltage waveform from the matrix converter without using diodes, without using capacitor, and the as we can see that the peak is unstable, the peak is not uniform. Here in the VSI case, the output voltage peak was very uniform. However, it is not uniform because of the input sine wave. These are the overriding three-phase voltages overriding. So what we can expect here is that there will be a fundamental component, as like shown over here, sine wave, following a large number of low order harmonics. Okay? So we will have to take care, or we will have to handle high frequency harmonics. This this is the comparison. First we saw the comparison of circuits, output. This is traditional volt inverter, and this is matrix inverter. And next we saw the out comparison of output voltages. Now we will take the matrix converter and now we will apply frequency FFT and see the frequency spectrum. This is the output of the matrix converter, and this is the frequency spectrum. So we can observe that there is a harmonics over here which have to be eliminated, and these harmonics are eliminated by the help of, if we can go back, by the help of this input filter or this input filter is used to eliminate higher order harmonics so that the harmonics do not enter the supply line or the three-phase input. So if you look at the original diagram, that the input filter will eliminate or mitigate the higher order harmonics and prevent them from entering the three-phase power sources. Okay, so in the following slides, we will discuss the working of matrix converter. I have purposely removed my video so that my students they can see the text behind. So we will now discuss the working of the matrix converter. Right. Um, this circuit diagram, this is the generalized circuit diagram of a three-phase to three-phase matrix converter. We have three-phase inputs. The three terminals of the three-phase is small a, small b, and small c. Then we have total of 9 bidirectional power switches that will make up the matrix converter. And then we have the three-phase outputs. The output terminals of the three-phase outputs are represented as capital A, capital B, and capital C. S alpha S subscript alpha beta represents a generalized bidirectional switch. The switch function S alpha beta can be defined as, since it is a switch, so it can be defined as 0 or 1. When the switch alpha beta is 0, it is open. When it is 1, it is closed. Where a alpha represents any of the three-phase input terminals, that is a, small b, and small c, and beta represent any of the three-phase outputs, that is capital A, capital B, capital C. This is the generalized description of any of the 9 bidirectional power switch of the matrix converter. And each switch will either be on and off. So we will develop the working principle and the voltage and current signals. We have a restriction that the sum of switch A beta plus switch B beta plus switch C beta must be equal to 1. This is switch A beta. Here is switch B beta, and this is the location of switch C. Sorry, this is switch. Yes, switch C alpha, switch C beta, and so this means that when we add them, they must be equal to 1. This is the restriction. The output voltages and current of the matrix converter can be represented by the switching function, that is on or off of switch S and transpose ST, such that output voltage here is equal to the switch function multiplied by the input. This becomes very simple, that is V capital A is equal to S S11. S11, the first one represents alpha, second one represents beta. This is switch S11 plus S21. This is switch S21 plus switch S31. This is switch S31. So this VA becomes S11 VA plus S21 VB plus S31 VC, where the switch functions S11, S21, S31 are either 0 or 1. And by following this mechanism, we have to implement a three-phase output. This three-phase output can be developed by using PWM signals or by using uh, space vector modulation. So PWM will be our normal modulation, which can be trapezoidal, sinusoidal, or we can use another technique which is called the space vector modulation. We have to maintain it. We have to maintain output voltages which will be which will have is which will have a phase difference of 120 degrees. So we will use a switching pattern of S11 to S33 so that the output voltages V capital A, V capital B, V capital C maintain a three-phase output and maintaining a 120-degree phase shift. Next is the current. In the current, VI in is the S transpose into I2, and this current can be written as this using this equation. Okay, so the switching of our 9 bidirectional switches will define the output voltage signal. Now, matrix converters can we can also control the power factor. Input power factor control capability is another attractive feature of matrix converter, which holds for most of the control algorithm as proposed in the literature. These literature are available in the reference section of our textbook. Despite of this common capability, it is worth noting that basic difference exists with respect to the load displacement angle dependency. So we can control the power factor using the matrix converter also. And these literature are available over here. Now, now a short discussion about the bidirectional power switches. There are in total 3 variations available which will help us to achieve bidirectional current handling capacity. The 3 options are provided in the 3 diagrams above. First is the diode bridge. We are using 4 diodes and 1 power switch. So current can flow in both directions. We want current to flow either from this side to this side or from this side to this side. And this can be done. The first technique is that we use a bridge diode, a diode bridge with single phase with single IGBT. Then second option is that we use 2 anti-parallel IGBTs with series diode. So we are using 2 anti-parallel IGBTs and 2 anti-parallel diodes. And we can in this we can allow current to flow in both directions. Using this we can also allow current to flow in both directions. So when we want to allow current to flow from this side to this side, we will simply turn on this phase or this leg, and when we want current to flow in the opposite direction, we will turn on the second phase. The third option is to use 2 anti-parallel NPT IGBTs with reverse blocking capability. So if we want to allow current to flow from this side to this side, we simply turn on the lower IGBT, and if we want to allow current to flow in the opposite direction, we can turn on the upper side IGBT. Right. So this brings us to the end of our power converters. Please, at the end, please do the reading from the textbook. I strongly recommend all my students to read from the textbook. Thank you very much for your time. And inshallah, I will make a new lecture of the sixth chapter, and I will share with you. अल्लाह ताला आप सबको अपने खास रहमत में रखे, आपको और आपके घर वालों को सबको अपनी हिफ्ज़-ओ-मान में रखे। मेरे लिए भी दुआ कीजिएगा, मेरे लिए भी दुआ कीजिएगा। अस्सलाम वालेकुम।